Hey guys, welcome back to the 411 on Tech. The new Nintendo Switch OLED just dropped and we were able to pick one up via pre-order from Target. Let's check out what changed, especially that all-new OLED screen. Is it worth the extra $50 for the OLED Switch model over the original Switch? If you already have a Switch, should you upgrade? If this is your first Switch, should you get this over the standard Switch? We will answer all these questions in this video, so we're going to get into it right after this.
Mentioned, the Switch OLED is $50 more than the original Switch, coming in at $350. You can get it in the standard black with neon blue and red controllers, or you can get it in the all-new white and black color scheme if you like that Stormtrooper vibe, which is what we have here. Now, at first glance, you might think not much has changed. The dimensions are pretty much the same, you still have the same Joy-Cons, and the same overall design. Internally, you do get double the storage, going from 32 gigs to 64 gigs, but you'll still want to probably pick up a micro SD card, and there's also no performance upgrades with this model. If you look closer though, there are some significant updates to this model that we think will enhance your gameplay.
As soon as you turn on the screen, you'll notice the biggest update on this new Switch, hence the name, is the OLED screen. The screen on the OLED Switch is 7 inches compared to the 6.2 inches of the original Switch. They also managed to increase the screen size while keeping the same form factor. This is due to the new Switch's screen not having the large black borders of the original Switch. The screen resolution remains the same at 720p. At a screen size of 7 inches, pixel density is high and really looks good. The benefits of OLED are better contrast, better color control, and blacks look black instead of gray. This is because with an OLED screen, each individual pixel can be controlled, turned on or off, and are not backlit like the LCD screen of the earlier Switch models. This being an OLED screen, it has a really fast pixel refresh rate, which helps with motion blur in games. This OLED screen also has more vibrant colors than the original Switch's LCD screen. There is also an option for screen vividness buried deep in the menu. You can choose between standard and vivid, vivid being the default. I would equate standard to the Pixel line of phones, which produce very natural, true to creators' intent colors, while vivid mode would be more akin to the Samsung Galaxy line of phones, where colors are very saturated. Whatever mode you prefer is up to you. Just having the OLED screen technology is a huge win in picture quality.
We booted up the just released Metroid Dread, and the scenes in the game really pop with the contrast of light against the dark areas on screen. The vibrant colors on Samus's suit really make for a nice contrast against the dark background. This game alone makes a strong case for more handheld time with the Switch OLED. We also loaded up a number of older titles like Breath of the Wild, ARMS, Mario Kart 8, and Super Mario Odyssey, and they look great. The OLED screen really brings new life into these older titles, and playing on a bigger screen and not seeing those huge bezels anymore was definitely a nice experience. Now, 7 inches over the original Switch's 6.2 inch screen, you might be thinking that isn't much of a difference, but after looking at them side by side, it's significantly bigger, and I find it hard to want to go back and play on the original Switch now. Check out Metroid Dread running on the original Switch as compared to the OLED Switch.
The screen is now glass instead of plastic, and you might notice there is a film on top, but Nintendo says not to remove it. It's actually an anti-scattering adhesive film meant to prevent the glass from shattering everywhere if you happen to drop it, like in automotive applications. Now, since this is an OLED screen, there tends to be concern of burn-in. Nintendo does warn against displaying static images over an extended period of time to lower the risk of image retention or burning. It is obviously too early to tell if this is going to be an issue yet, but we have experience with OLED TVs, 2 of which we use as monitors for PCs, and we haven't experienced any burn-in as of yet. As long as you're mindful and take precautions, you should be fine. And Nintendo does add some countermeasures to help prevent burn-in. For example, the screen dims after 5 minutes of inactivity, and you can also go into the menu settings and have the Switch automatically go into sleep mode after a period of inactivity.
So the next biggest upgrade here is the much improved built-in stand. To me, I think the stand alone is worth the extra $50, and it's actually my favorite upgrade to the console besides the OLED screen. The stand on the original Switch was a notoriously bad feature, if you even want to call it a feature. Now, for the most part, we play in docked mode, but when we play portably, it's almost always in tabletop mode, because we like to play with the Pro Controller. The stand on the original Switch is just a narrow, flimsy piece of plastic that just never really feels sturdy. There have been times where we've just barely bumped it or the table it was sitting on and it falls right over. And we've never actually played with the Switch outside, but I feel like a light wind would even blow this over. But that is not the case with this stand, and the tabletop experience is so much better now.
What allows for the better tabletop experience that Michelle mentioned is the stand is now the entire width of the Switch. So now the Switch is a lot more stable in tabletop mode. Not that you'll be looking at the back of your Switch a lot, but the back of the new Switch looks a lot cleaner with the new Switch stand and Nintendo Switch branding. The hinge is also adjustable to many positions and has just the right amount of resistance when you're adjusting to those options. Then once you have your perfect angle selected, it just stays. It's a very satisfying experience, unlike the original Switch's stand.
I did want to mention that although the stand is much more sturdy now, there is a little flex in the middle when adjusting, due to it being so long and the two hinges being on the ends. So we recommend when adjusting to hold it closer to the ends where the hinges are to not put too much strain on the plastic.
Enhanced audio is a feature Nintendo is touting as improved with the OLED Switch. The new Switch's speakers are visibly larger and have a more rectangular shape now.
And as soon as we booted it up, just going through the setup process, you could already notice a difference. The speakers get louder, they sound more clear, and they're more punchier. Overall, it had a fuller sound with better treble and bass. So games sounded pretty good, but obviously if you want better sound or just want to listen privately, you still have a headphone jack, and now that Nintendo allows you to connect a Bluetooth headset, you have that option as well. Here are some audio clips of the original and new Switch OLED running Metroid Dread at max volume.
Another improvement with Switch OLED is the dock. The rear door is now removable instead of having a hinge door. I don't think that having a removable door in itself is an improvement, but the cable management slot being larger on the door is. There is also an integrated LAN port that replaces the third USB port from the original dock. Sad to report, however, the LAN port bandwidth speeds are not improved. The dock this time around has more rounded corners, and the slot where the Switch docks now is a glossy black. It looks really nice contrasted with the black and white here on our dock.
Also, there's more space or more of a gap where you put the Switch in the dock. Some people reported having their screen scratched in the original dock, so hopefully this will rectify that problem. However, the downside of this is the Switch doesn't feel as secure in the dock and it's a little wobbly. Cable management is a little easier with this redesigned dock. As Damien mentioned earlier, the door on the back is actually removable, and the cable management cutout in the back is different as well. It's a more curved cutout than the L-shaped cutout on the original dock. It's not a huge difference, but it does seem like the cables sit a little more naturally. And although you don't have that third USB port in the back like you do with the original Switch dock, you do still have the two USB ports on the left side of the dock to plug in your peripherals. I also want to mention that both the original and OLED Switch are compatible with either dock. So if you're like us and have a couple of extra docks around the house connected to different TVs, you'll still be able to play in docked mode anywhere on either Switch.
And I'm sure you're also wondering about battery life. Battery life is about the same as the 2019 Switch that came in the red box. So you'll get between 4.5 to 9 hours of gameplay. If you're like us and have the original Switch from 2017, which only gave you 2.5 to 6.5 hours of gameplay, you'll be getting an increase in battery life. Okay, now on to our final thoughts. So I guess the big question here if you're going to play the Switch in handheld mode, it's probably in most cases definitely worth it. So is it worth the extra $50 over the original Switch? Yes, if you're playing in handheld mode.
Yeah, and I think the stand alone, like I said, is worth the $50. Like the old stand was horrible. You know, so if you play a lot in tabletop mode, it's definitely a win for that alone. Yeah,
handheld mode or table mode, if you do a lot of that, that's predominantly most of your gameplay. You're playing this on the go, you know, maybe on some kind of transportation, or you're going somewhere, or you know, just playing it mobily around the house.
Yeah, and having that OLED screen, you're definitely going to notice the difference. I mean, we definitely did. And it looks really great. I mean, the colors are so vibrant, the contrast with the lights and darks, it really looks good.
Yeah, so like, if this is your first Switch, should you get this one over the standard? Definitely, it's worth the...
Yes.
Definitely, because even, you know, saving the $50 to get the regular one, even if you don't do a lot of handheld tape, it's just a better design, feels a little bit more premium. And if you do happen to occasionally play it in handheld mode, tabletop mode, definitely. So I would again say yes.
Yeah, and for us, like, so we pretty much use it in docked mode. Because we like playing on the TV, we like playing with, you know, a controller or whatever. So if you're like us, again, you know, I don't think you need to upgrade. We have the original 2017, so sometimes we do play portably, and it is nice that you get the extra battery life.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus, and then, you know, now that we've seen the OLED screen, like, I think I want to play more portably.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited about that.
So if you already have a Switch, the only time you should upgrade is if you're going to play, like Michelle mentioned, like tabletop or handheld. We have Mario Kart Circuit, so we needed to get another Switch to play that. Now, I wouldn't say just get it just for that, because that's, you know, a pretty expensive endeavor just to have a second Switch to control another RC car to play that. But we do, and we want to play that, so, you know, we have it for that. Okay, so just to sum it up, as we mentioned, the only time you really want to get it, if you're going to do a lot of handheld or tabletop play, you want to get it. You get the better screen, the speakers are improved, the stand is greatly improved, so that's when you should get it. But if not, just stick with your regular Switch in dock mode and you'll be fine. And also, the dock is nicer as far as putting it in and out. Now, we put screen protectors on ours, so that helps with that, but just not everybody might get those, so having that wider gap is going to help with keeping the screen from getting scratched, because you'll have a wider gap to make sure you put it in without scraping on the sides of the internals there. Yeah,
and you have that LAN port now too, so if your Wi-Fi is a little sporadic or whatever, that'll help you, but it doesn't really increase the bandwidth.
Yeah, well, what we've seen and what others have seen in testing, a lot of times people get higher speeds through their Wi-Fi than they do to the LAN port, and I think that's because it's like a LAN, but it's using like USB 2.0. So the theoretical speed should be like 480 megabits per second, but you're not getting anywhere near that.
No.
And like I said, people have seen they're getting greater speeds over Wi-Fi. So.
But for stability purpose, like if your Wi-Fi goes in and out, you'll at least have the stability with the LAN port.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it for this one, guys. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be picking up one of these, or if you already have it, and what your thoughts are. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.